How am I supposed to get out of this book slump? So when will I want to read again? Asking for a friend. And I got let down. I'm actually really loving this book.
I do feel like I might be out of my slump.
I am currently going through every reader's worst nightmare. A book slump. And funnily enough, what ended up causing this was reading my favorite book of the year so far, The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. It made me feel every single emotion under the sun, and now it just feels like no other book I read is going to compare. So today, I'm going to be taking you guys along on the process of me hopefully getting out of this book slump and sharing some of my tips and tricks along the way. The first thing that I've been doing to help try and get me out of this book slump is to just stop reading, stop forcing myself to read. I feel like forcing myself to read sometimes works when I am just on my phone too much. I'm like, okay, I need to set the phone down, put it away, and read, and then most of the time I do get into my book, but even that hasn't been working. But I do think that hasn't been working for me personally because my phone hasn't been the problem. Anyways, I figured taking a break from reading would probably do me some good, especially because I haven't been wanting to read. So this past week, I've just been spending more time doing other things that I enjoy and kind of letting myself feel bored, because I felt like if I allowed myself to be bored, then hopefully that would lead me to want to pick up a book. So I haven't read anything in 5 or 6 days, and I feel like I'm finally at the point where I'm like, all right, like I'm over this, give me something to read. So that is a good sign. Another thing I was trying before I put a pause on reading was reading multiple books at once. That normally works for me. I call it chaos reading, and I'll read 3 to 4 books that are all pretty different, and then I can just read the specific book that I'm in the mood for when I'm in the mood for it. So hopefully it doesn't put me in a slump, but even that wasn't working. I am currently a little bit of the way through 3 books right now. The first one is an advanced reader copy. It's Good at Being Alive by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I read 30% of that and I actually decided to DNF that. I ended up posting this TikTok and I was like, how do you guys know when it's time to DNF a book? Because I am not a person who DNFs most of the time. I think I've only DNF'd maybe 2 or 3 books since I started getting back into reading as an adult, because I honestly have major FOMO. And I also felt bad for DNFing it because it was an arc, but I just decided to be done with it because it was not making me excited to read, even if maybe there wasn't anything wrong with the book and I could have enjoyed it if I wasn't feeling slumpy. But also, since I am feeling slumpy and I wasn't enjoying it, reading and reviewing it wouldn't have done anything for me or the book. And it honestly felt pointless continuing that one. So technically, I'm just in the middle of 2 books right now. The first one is A Torch Against the Night. This is the second book in the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. I really liked the first one, and at this point I'm about 40% through the second one, and I was enjoying it, but I also feel like this could be a series that I really, really enjoy, and I feel like reading it right now might be a disservice to myself because I feel like I'm just not in a mood to read fantasy, and I really want to enjoy that series, so I'm not getting back into that right now. I'm gonna put a little soft DNF on that. The other book that I was in the middle of reading is the one that I'm gonna continue today, and that is Tropesick by Lauren Okie. I also got the advanced reader copy of this through NetGalley. It looks like I'm currently 36% through this, and I am on chapter 30. I have had moments where I've been enjoying this quite a bit, but then I feel like because I wasn't wanting to pick up any books, there are moments that I could have enjoyed more if I was in the mood to read it, and now I feel like because in this moment I am in the mood to read, and specifically this book, it's not only the right time to start reading again, but it's the right time to pick this one back up again. So I'm excited to get back into it and give it another chance, and hopefully I will end up enjoying it. I'm currently 68% into Tropesick by Lauren Okie, and I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I kind of lucked in yesterday. I sat in my chair, I had my rain sounds on, and I was just fully immersed in the story. I'm also just now realizing I haven't told you what this is about at all. Basically, Tropesick, you're getting dual POV of our 2 main characters, Katie, which is my name, so that's fun, and Tyler. They were childhood best friends turned lovers. He was her brother's best friend. There are a ton of tropes in this book that make up their story, story, I guess, so to speak. Not just with their past, but also what's going on in the future, because the whole shtick with this book is that they end up having to write a romance novel together, and the tropes that they're writing about in their book are happening in real life to them. It's not magical realism, but it almost has a magical element to it just because everything is such a coincidence. I do feel like this might be an instance where if I wasn't in a book slump, I might be enjoying it quite a bit more, but unfortunately, I do feel like it might also just be the second chance romance trope, because I've read so many second chance romances that it does start to get quite repetitive, where they have that aspect of why they haven't talked in forever, and then you figure out why, and it's just dragged out, and it's just starting not to have that same effect on me, and I just feel like I've read too much of that trope this year for it to really have its grasp on me and for me to really fall in love with the story. I am liking the writing, and I like our characters. I just think I need more. I want to know more, and I feel like a lot of what I'm wanting might be in this last bit of this book. So I'm hoping I'll get some more answers, some more context, some more connection, because honestly, I'm just not really feeling it. I feel like I just don't care that much. And again, it might not have anything to do with the book. It might just be right book, wrong time. And even though I'm not fully connecting with everything and I'm not absolutely in love with this book, there are still good qualities that I can recognize about it, like things that I am enjoying and things that make me want to keep reading. One thing that is for sure is that the chapters are short, which is super nice, especially if you're in a book slump, because it keeps that nice momentum going. It makes you feel so much more accomplished because it feels like you're reading more than you actually are. I'm planning on doing quite a bit of reading before bed tonight. I feel like one thing that really works for me when I have trouble picking up books is that I'm just so distracted by everything else going on in my life. But if it's late at night, I've gotten ready for bed, I'm feeling cozy and comfortable, I'm just trying to unwind and nothing else is going on, I feel like that is honestly my favorite time of day to read, especially when I'm feeling a bit more distracted or I'm in a book slump like I am now. So that is my current plan. I mean, I could also read in the morning as well, and it's not too late right now, so I'm not gonna have to stay up too late to finish this one, but knowing that I'm gonna have uninterrupted reading time, I guess, makes me concentrate more on the book. So I'm gonna get to reading, and maybe I'll be able to finish this one tonight, and I'll share my final thoughts with you guys tomorrow. I just finished filming a sit-down video, so I figured while I'm here, I might as well update you guys on my thoughts on Tropesick by Lauren Okie. I finished it a few nights ago. I believe it was on Monday night. I finished it later into the night because, like I was saying, whenever there's nothing on the agenda and it's just quiet, there's nobody to talk to, my phone's put away, there's just nothing to do because I'm setting up to sleep and to rest, I feel like my brain can actually calm down and focus on what I'm reading, and sometimes that can be while I'm slumping. I will say this book in particular did not take me out of my slump, and I know that because I have not picked up a book in 3 days. There were quite a few things that I did like about this book. First of all, the main character's name being Katie. That's my name, so I don't know. It's always kind of fun whenever the main character has the same name as you. There were also times where Tyler, the male main character, called Katie Catherine in a very like jokey, haha way, and Luke, my husband, does that to me all the time, so I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. That was added into this book, and unfortunately, even though overall this was a very unique premise for a romance book, I feel like it did fall a little bit flat for me, and I don't think it's because I'm slumping. I think that if I wasn't in a slump, I probably could have connected at least a little bit more to the main characters, but I don't think that this would have been a 5-star for me if I wasn't slumping, so I'm not crazily disappointed about it. And I liked our main characters. I felt like I could relate to them on certain things throughout the story, but I felt like the moments that I did feel connected to them made the moments where I didn't feel connected to them stand out so much more to me, and there was more of those moments where I didn't feel as connected. The first 20 or so percent that I read before I started filming this video, I thought were really good. I thought the pacing was great. I was interested to keep on reading, but then I felt like things started to drag. And in all honesty, what made this book unique was the tropes being a part of the actual plot of the character stories, not just in the book that they're writing, but in the author's real lives, right? But that honestly got in the way of the trajectory of Katie and Tyler's story because we were just throwing so many tropes in there just for the sake of throwing tropes in there. For a second chance romance, I think we got shown quite a bit of their backstory, which I enjoyed, instead of being told about it in present day. I do think that there should have been more, and I think that the placement of the past backstory should have happened more during the first half of the book than in the later half of the book, because I felt like we would get one chapter of backstory story here and there during the first, and then at the end there was a lot more. But I feel like I needed more of it at the beginning of the book to keep my interest going, especially because the middle of this book really did feel very slow and sluggish to me. And this is my first book by Lauren Okie. I did enjoy her writing. I thought her prose was beautiful. It really made summer come alive, and you could feel that summer atmosphere coming off the page. But I think the main problem I had with the story was the pacing of the storyline. It felt like just a lot of things were dragging out. It felt quite long for a romance book, in my opinion. In regards to the ending, I like how things ended with our characters romantically, and I liked the conclusion of their relationship, but the plot twist at the end kind of came out of left field. I definitely wasn't expecting it, which I enjoy to a certain extent, but the context of what happened just felt very random, and I feel like it didn't really work, and I also feel like everything wrapped up incredibly quickly, and there were a lot of plot holes along the way. I feel like there was just so much more love given to the first bit of the book versus the middle and the end of the book, and I feel like that just happens a lot, honestly, and it's very disappointing as a reader to see that sequence of events continuing to happen over time with more and more books, because it just becomes more disheartening, and honestly might be one of the reasons why I am in a slump. I think this is also making me realize that I need to take a break on second chance romance, because unless it is done perfectly right, it starts to just bother me a little bit. It's like, okay, like, why aren't you guys together? Like, either get together or tell me what happened in the past already. Because they're always just like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't mean to. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then the other character will like be like, no, I don't want to hear about that. No. And that's not just this book. It's like almost every second chance romance for the most part. And it's just starting to feel like a broken record, which is so sad because I love the second chance romance trope, which is another reason why I really thought I was going to like this book, especially because so many people have been saying they loved it. But I feel like my hopes were pretty high, and I got let down. So I wanted to give myself another little break from reading. I kind of did it unintentionally. I was just in my mind thinking, you know what, if I pick up another book in the next few days, I pick up a book organically, or we're just going to take a little break. And that's what ended up happening. So that's fine. But I do still obviously want to get out of this book slump. So the next thing that I want to do is read something short and sweet. And nothing is shorter or sweeter while also telling a good amount of story than a graphic novel. I could definitely finish that in a day, and I'm going to continue the Heartstopper series. I believe I'm on volume 3. This is a reread for me too, so I know I'm going to enjoy it because I absolutely love and adore this series. I'm really hoping that since graphic novels are such quick reads, like I could read it in like an hour probably, that it will motivate me to want to pick up a novel again because of the fact that I'm finishing a book so quickly. I always feel that way with shorter novellas as well. I'm just like, oh, like I read that so quickly, like look at me go, like I'm unstoppable. So that's what I'm gonna attempt to do later tonight. I'm gonna try and read it in one sitting, see how it goes. I know it's gonna keep my attention, and I know I already have feelings for these characters. I love these characters, and I am hopeful that this will help. So cute. I told myself I couldn't watch Love Island until I finished this. I read it in one sitting, and I think I started it around like 7:30, and Love Island for me comes on at 7:45ish, and it's 8:42. And today's Thursday. They had a recoupling on Tuesday, so I'm very excited to watch Love Island tonight to see what's going to happen, especially because we got to vote on the app. But having to finish this before watching Island, I feel like is good motivation in general for reading, but I feel like I didn't even really need it with this because I was so invested the whole time. I didn't check the time. I just read it and it was so enjoyable. And honestly, it's making me think that I might want to reread one of my 5-star reads next, but that also makes me nervous because I just read an absolute banger of a book. So what if I read one of my 5-star reads and then that puts me into an even worse slump? And I would also have to decide which 5-star read I would want to reread. So I don't know. We'll have to see what I end up picking up next. But reading a graphic novel, specifically Heartstopper, because I know I love this series so much, definitely made me feel less slumpy. And honestly, at this point, I think that this series, all of the books in it are 5 stars. They are so good. And I was definitely getting 5-star feelings from this. So I'm really glad I decided to reread the whole series before the 6th one comes out.
I feel
like a little egg, but that's okay. I think I'm just gonna embrace it, honestly. Okay, you guys, I have some good news and some possible bad news. One is that yesterday is whenever I finished Heartstopper Volume 3. I was trying not to be too hard on myself and feeling like I had to force myself to read. So I was like, if I need a day, I need a day. But I'm actually in the mood to read right now, so that is a good sign. I genuinely think that with a graphic novel being so quick, it's like a little snack, you know? And I ate that snack on up, and now I'm ready for a full meal. I have some options behind me that we're gonna get into here in a minute, but the not so good thing is that if I'm not out of the slump, I'm gonna be a little bit disappointed whenever I start this next book. So what we're gonna do is get a little taste of both of these books. This is what I'm gonna call a book tasting, okay? I'm just gonna read about a chapter of both of these. I might go get another book for my TBR cart. We'll have to wait and see how I end up feeling about these, and if I get strong feelings for hopefully wanting to continue the book. I feel like doing it this way, it's not putting too much pressure on having to commit to a specific book that I pick in the moment, and it's also giving me good feelings about choosing my next read because I'm already getting a little bit of a taste and hopefully wanting more. So basically what's gonna happen is I'm not going to leave this chair until I'm done deciding what book I want to continue, unless I have to go grab another book from my TBR cart, but hopefully we don't have to do that. The first book is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is actually on my June TBR, and I've been wanting to read it for quite some time. I just read Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, and I really enjoyed it. The main character, Natalie, was quite unlikable, and I recently read Best Hover Wins. It's right up there, and as you can see, it's displayed, which means that I really enjoyed that too, and the main character in that book was quite deranged and delusional, and at times quite unlikable, and I've heard very similar things about the main character in this book, and I've never read anything by R.F. Kuang, so I am interested to give this one a go. I'm trying to see how long the first chapter is. Oh, first chapter is 22 pages. Well, we might have to go get another book. But anyways, the second book, which now that I see how long the first chapter is, I'm probably going to end up choosing, is the 7th Unselected Journal of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. You guys know I love this series, and you're probably thinking, Katie, you've rated quite a bit of this series 5 stars. You know you love it. Why haven't you just picked up this to get out of your book slump? And that is because I am so nervous to continue this series while I'm in a book slump, because what if I don't have the same feelings? And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I feel like whenever you're in a book slump, you tell yourself quite literally anything, and reading being my favorite hobby, I just want to start reading again, okay? I want my love and my zest and passion for it to come back. And I'm hoping that that's what's gonna happen whenever I read this. I still am nervous, but I'm gonna give it a go. I have a feeling this is what I'm gonna choose. I am a little bit of the way through this one. I started on my Kindle a few weeks ago now. I just never continued it because I was starting to feel a little bit slumpy, and I want to give this series and this book the chance that it deserves for me to enjoy it. Let me check where I'm at on Kindle Unlimited. I also think I'm more in the mood to read a book physically, so having the physical option is going to be definitely better for me right now. It says I'm on page 19. I'm 7% through. Let me find that. Also, where I left off on this, or specifically where the 6th volume left off, was very juicy, so I'm excited to see where we're gonna go. The other reason why I was nervous to pick this up while I was feeling slumpy though is because it is set in the Victorian era in London, so it's set in the late 1800s, and I feel like because I'm not English and I'm not from the 1800s, if you couldn't tell, it made me a little bit nervous because they do at times use some verbiage that's just a little bit hard to get into, but I also feel like since I've read 6 other books in the series, I would be able to pick it up quickly, but I guess we'll have to see right now. I think I'm gonna start with Emma M. Lyon and then read Yellowface. I might honestly just read 10 pages. It honestly just depends on how I'm feeling about Emma M. Lyon, because I feel like this is gonna be our winner. But we're gonna do some taste testing no matter what. Okay, I just finished my chapter. It was indeed only 5 pages for me to finish, but I'm already getting good feelings because I have feelings for these characters. I relate to them. I just feel so connected to them. So I honestly feel like this is the better choice of the two, even though obviously eventually I want to read Yellowface, but I just feel like now is not the time, especially with me being in a slump and me already having a good time with the first 5 pages of this. I feel like we just roll with it, even though I literally just said I'm not getting up from this chair until I read the first chapters of both of these books. But you know what? We live and we learn, and I have learned that I want to read Emma M. Lyon 7. So that's what I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do next is the timer method. This is something that I do all the time, even whenever I'm not in a book slump. I feel like it helps me let go, because sometimes whenever I'm reading, I get nervous that I'm going to be in Booklandia for too long and then neglect the other things that I have to do. So my mind's just always racing. So for me as a reader, setting timers for 20, 30, an hour, whatever, is really, really helpful, because I know that while the timer is going, that is my allotted reading time, and that's all I have to be thinking about, and I feel like it helps me lock in a little bit more. So I think I am going to start a timer. I don't want to go too crazy too quick. Let's do 20 minutes and go from there. I feel like that's a nice, easy, happy medium. I'm also going to put on rain sounds too. Okay. No matter how many times I hear that alarm, it is still going to absolutely scare me. It was nice though, because the rain sounds like slowly died out a little bit before it went off, so I felt like I could predict it a bit. I'm really happy with how I'm feeling about everything. I feel like the subplot of romance in here is really like bubbling to the surface and becoming something, or hopefully about to become something at least, as right now where we're at in the series. And I'm really loving the tension, and I just love Emma as a main character. And there's already been so many moments where I've smiled or like scoffed in my head at something that Emma has said, either out loud or in her journal. She is just so funny and witty, and I aspire to be more like her. So I'm going to continue reading, and I will keep you guys updated with my thoughts. I honestly already feel way less slumpy after reading Heartstopper and starting this. I am officially over 100 pages into the 7th volume of Emma M. Lyon, and I feel like that is such a big accomplishment whenever you're in a reading slump, because it is so hard to sit down and actually feel present with the books that you're reading enough to make a decent dent. And I feel like I'm finally hitting that stride again where I just want to sit and read for hours on end. Well, maybe not hours on end, but we're getting there. So that is a plus. I'm officially on page 139, and I love this series so much. I believe that the 7th volume is under 300 pages. It is exactly 299, so right under 300 pages. But if you've never heard of this series before, I started reading it, I think last year around this time maybe. There's 8 volumes currently out, and it's a historical fiction series set in the Victorian era in London, and we're following our main character Emma through the journals that she writes about the things that she gets up to day to day, and she is just so charming and witty and a feminist icon for the time. She gets up to the most outlandish things, and I just adore her so much. She is so whimsical and fun to follow, and she has these 3 guys that she's acquainted with that she becomes a lot better friends with throughout the series. It has a really good sense of found family, and the subplot of romance is just starting to get juicier and juicier in here, and I feel like that's why I'm enjoying this one so incredibly much. I've already rated books in this series 5 stars, and I have a feeling that this one will be no different. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm getting really good feelings from this book, and I'm glad I decided to pick this one up. I was obviously nervous at first because I didn't want to ruin my reading experience of this series, but I feel like I picked it up at the perfect time, so that's always a great feeling. And I also feel like it's helping pull me out of the slump that I'm in. I did do the timer method a few more times, and also, as you guys saw, I was doing some reading at my desk, and I turned on a read with me video. I love read with me video, specifically if there's just rain. I don't know what it is about it, but it's so motivating. I've also done the Pomodoro method too, where it's like 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, and then you keep doing that a few different times. There are streamers who do that. There's also just videos on YouTube that are like that as well, and I feel like it's very motivating, especially if somebody is doing that task with you to do the task that you're supposed to be doing. It holds me accountable. The read with me videos and the Pomo method are just different versions of setting a timer, but honestly, when you're in a slump, it's nice to have options, especially if the timer method does work for you. I also feel like reading a book just in general in a series that you know you enjoy is a really good way to go, so I'm glad I went this route with M.M. Lyon. And speaking of switching things up and having variations, I think one of the biggest things whenever I'm in a slump is to change my environment, whether that's going to a coffee shop or in this case, I'm about to go out to the pool and do some reading. A lot of the time when I'm at home, I easily get distracted and think about all the other things that I could or should be doing while I'm reading. So getting out of the house and going somewhere else is definitely something that's helped me in the past, and I feel like it's definitely going to help me today. I love reading at the pool too, so I have a feeling that this will be really helpful. I'm going to bring my physical copy and my Kindle and just pick up which format I'm in the mood for. That is another tip that I feel like helps me a lot, is just having almost every format possible of the book you're reading. Obviously, I know that's not feasible all the time, but since M.M. Lion is on Kindle Unlimited, I have that. I do have the physical copy, and I could listen to it on audio because it is on Spotify, so I could just listen to it a little bit here and there. I haven't loved the M.M. Lion audiobooks, if I'm being honest. I really prefer reading them physically, but I also feel like I should give them another chance. So I'll let you know if I end up listening to the audio at all. Anyways, I need to stop yapping and actually go on out to the pool and get to reading. I am still reading M.M. Lion 7 and enjoying it, but I wanted to give a little audiobook update because honestly, a lot of the time when I'm not particularly feeling in the mood to read a book physically, I gravitate towards audiobooks, and a lot of that times that instantly helps me get out of my slump and I find my way going back to reading books physically. And honestly, I love audiobooks all the time. I listen to them almost all the time. I have one ongoing. So honestly, one of the weirdest parts about this book slump in particular for me was the fact that I did not want to even listen to an audiobook. Every single audiobook that I was listening to, whether it was a book that I was reading physically and I was just listening to a little bit of it here and there, or if it was a book that I was just listening to, it was just not holding my attention, and I also just didn't care. So I've been trying slowly but surely to get back into them. And I figured memoirs would be the best way for me to do that because honestly, memoirs a lot of the time just feel kind of like a podcast, and I still love a podcast. So I decided to pick up Yes Please by Amy Poehler, and I listened to that and I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit nervous because I did not like Tina Fey's memoir, Bossy Pants. I think I read that last year. In my opinion, it just lacked a lot of substance and it just kind of felt like too jokey. And I know she's a comedian, but I feel like Amy Poehler's, in my opinion, really towed the line nicely of having jokes and having funny moments, but also having very real and raw moments. She also had times where in the studio she would bring in a friend or even her parents, and they did some narrations for the audiobook, which I just found super unique because I've never experienced that before while listening to an audiobook. So I really liked that. It felt even more intimate getting to hear about her life from people that are in her life that are most important to her. And I love Amy Poehler. I've been wanting to pick up her memoir for a while, but specifically what made me wanted to pick it up now is because I have been absolutely loving her podcast. It is so good. I don't even care who's on it, even if I don't know them or I'm not the biggest fan of them. I will literally just watch it for Amy Poehler because I think she's so hilarious and I just love her. To me, she is America's sweetheart. And then actually Luke and I are currently watching Parks and Rec. I think this might be my third or fourth rewatch, but I haven't watched it in years and Luke has never seen it, and we're really enjoying that right now. I think I might be enjoying it now that I'm older than I did whenever I watched it originally in my teens. But I just found her views on everything so insightful, and I just really liked her perspective and the way that she explained herself. And since I ended up enjoying that memoir so much, I decided to continue with the memoir kick, and I picked up Strangers. I've seen this circulating recently. A lot of people have been reading it, and I didn't even know it was a memoir when I first saw it. But when I looked into it and figured out it was a memoir, it made me even more excited to read it because I love a memoir. The way in which this memoir is told, it almost feels like it is a novel. It's very well written. You're following this woman and she ends up getting kind of blindsided by her husband. Well, I guess not kind of blindsided. Completely blindsided by her husband, and they've been together for years. She's in her 50s, and suddenly she figures out that he's cheating on her, and he's like, I'm leaving you and I want nothing to do with our children. Bye. The audiobook of this, in my opinion, was absolutely fantastic. It was so well narrated and so well done, especially for her first book. And her entire story of everything that happened throughout her life and also through her marriage was just so interesting because it's crazy to see sometimes how blindsided we can be by love or how things maybe weren't as they seemed at the time. But now looking back, without the rose-colored glasses, you can truly see people for who they were. And I don't know, my heart just goes out to her and anybody who has been through something similar. It is just so sad. And I feel like like it's a very important story specifically for women, because I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to love, women can be taken advantage of and they don't even realize it. It can literally happen to anybody, and that's the scariest part. Weirdly enough, I feel like the more memoirs I've read, the more good ones that I have read. Whenever I first started reading them, they were just kind of ones that maybe I wasn't the biggest fan of the person whose memoir it was, or it wasn't written in a super great way, or I didn't get a ton out of it. But lately, some of the ones that I've been reading have just been absolutely fantastic. So I'm so glad. One, I'm loving audiobooks again. Maybe I'll try and read a fiction one soon. And two, memoirs are here to stay. I absolutely love a memoir. And if you're not into the memoir genre, I highly, highly recommend getting into it, because there's just so much that you can learn from other people's lives. And it's just a fun time, especially if you love a podcast. I think you could really enjoy memoirs.
I obviously don't want to speak too soon, but you guys, I think I might be out of my reading slump, specifically because of Lion 7. There were so many moments last night where I was giggling or scoffing or just so invested in what was going on. I just love these characters so much. I feel like Islington is one of my favorites. He just has this overall flirty, witty, kind of annoying aura to him, but it works so well for him, and I feel like that is how a lot of my favorite male main characters in books act. Even though he's not the male love interest, I still do really enjoy him, and him and Emma's dynamic is more of like a brother-sister thing, as of right now at least, and I just really enjoy them interacting together. And there was just a scene where they got caught, I guess, and it looked like they were doing something, but they were not doing that, and it was just really, really funny how they try and get themselves out of these situations. And I just love this series. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it just brings me so much joy. I'm currently on page 243, so my plan right now, I'm about to go into a coffee shop, and I think I'm gonna try and finish this in there. I feel like as of right now with my reading slump, I am really enjoying this book, but I feel like the real test is going to be after I finish this, how I feel. Am I wanting to pick up another book? Am I able to get into another story? So I have to test that after I finish this one, but I am just glad that I have feelings towards a book that I'm reading again.
I finished the 8th Unselected Journal of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower, and it's gonna come as no shock to anyone that this was a 5-star read. I absolutely loved it. This series to me has a cozy and kind of comforting element to it, where I just come back and I know I'm gonna have an amazing time with these characters again, because I love them and I connect to them. They're so relatable in so many different ways. I love how they don't take themselves too seriously. It's just such a fun time. If you have not picked this series up yet, please do yourself the favor. I feel like they're really great palate cleansers too, because whenever I go into these, I know that there might be some deeper and tougher things that our characters are going through, but it's not like I have to mentally prepare myself in the way that I do for a fantasy book or a literary fiction that could be intensely emotional. I just know that no matter what, I'm gonna have a good time. I just love these. If you have not read this series yet, please, 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 please do yourself the favor and pick them up. I know I talk about this series all the time, even in videos where I probably don't need to be talking about it, but if that is not your sign to read it, especially if you love historical fiction and just a story that's fun, cozy, heartwarming, and everything else in between, you have got to pick these up. And now that I've surprisingly found a 5-star read in this video, I'm feeling good about reading again. I'm ready to go into my next book. You might think the video's over, and it's not. I honestly feel like the book after a 5-star read is the test of if your book slump is over or not, because that book might have just been a fluke. So we are going to at least read one more book in this video, and hopefully it proves that my slump is over. And I feel like this next tip is one that makes me super excited to read a book, like more than normal, and that is reading a new release, just because there's so much anticipation for the hope that I'm going to enjoy it. And that new release is going to be Our Perfect Storm by Carley Fortune. I believe that this came out in May, and last year whenever she came out with One Golden Summer, I absolutely loved and adored it. It was my favorite romance book of the year. It was absolutely fantastic. I really love Carley Fortune's writing. It's very bingeable and easygoing, and I am about to go to Michigan for a few days with my husband Luke. That vlog should be up by now, so if you haven't checked that out, I'll have it linked down below. But I figured this would be the perfect book to bring on vacation with me because her books just scream summer, and I am so excited to get into it. Back from Michigan, and I am about halfway through Our Perfect Storm, I believe. I'm currently on page 205, and I would definitely say that I'm liking this. I feel like Carley Fortune has this very effortless writing style to where anytime I'm reading one of her books, even if I don't enjoy the storyline or the characters or the plotline or relate to anything, I still enjoy the way that she writes and the way that she tells a story. I definitely think reading quite a bit of this by the water helped with the atmospheric elements of it. Basically, we're following our main character, Frankie, and you meet her when she is engaged. It's a few days before her wedding, and they're at one of those pre-wedding welcome party dinners, and she is waiting on her best friend from childhood, George, to show up, and she's kind of nervous that he won't for some reason. I guess the main reason is because they have been a little bit more disconnected as they've gotten older, but in order to get married, she needs George there, and whenever he's there, she instantly feels this weight off of her shoulders. She's happy, she can go with the flow, she can actually like take a breath, and they have a great night. They end up partying, and then the next morning, Frankie wakes up, there is a note on her pillow saying that her fiance left her. And we don't really know why, but I have an inkling as to why. So Frankie is going through this breakup, and through this process, she ends up meeting up with her fiance, and he's like, you know what, you should go on the honeymoon. And she ends up taking George on that honeymoon with her. So I'm currently on the honeymoon with them. That sounds really weird to say, but you know what I mean. On the honeymoon, we're getting to see a lot more of their dynamic together, and I definitely like them together, even just as friends. I really enjoy Frankie. I feel like she has this fiery persona at times, and I think as women, a lot of the time whenever we stand up for ourselves or we put up a fight or we can be seen as more of a fiery, passionate personality, that's not a good thing. That's seen as not desirable, and I really like how George is trying to make her realize that he likes those things about her. Those are the things that make her her, because she was really nervous that one of the reasons that her fiance left her was because she showed that she was crazy because they got into an argument, even though arguing is like a real thing everybody does. It really feels like these two characters know each other in and out, and I do like that. I think that at this point, from where I left off, I'm not really sure where we're gonna go because it feels like the tension might be breaking soon, and I still have 200 pages. So I am a little bit nervous about that. I like George's vibe other than the way he treats Frankie. He's just a really, really great friend. I honestly feel like the pacing of this book is done really well. I'm not really getting 5-star feels from it, but I do feel like I might be out of my slump. I'm nowhere near saying that with my full chest right now because I feel like if I do, I might jinx myself, and I obviously don't want to do that. But I am wanting to pick this up. I'm interested in these characters, and I honestly feel like read a book set in the season that I'm in makes things a lot more atmospheric and makes things come to life a little bit more. I think that's honestly helping me get out of my slump a little bit. Being able to read this by a body of water, just, I don't know, like something clicked in my brain for some reason. It might be Carley Fortune's writing. Who knows at this point? I honestly don't care what it is, because if it makes me want to read, that's all that matters. I think I'm gonna set a little goal for myself, since I do have less than 200 pages of this left, to where I want to finish this book tomorrow. But anyways, I'm getting good feelings. I'm hoping that this is it, but I do have 200 pages left, so we'll have to wait and see. I have about 50 pages left in Our Perfect Storm, and I'm definitely liking it, but it's not giving me 5-star feels, which is okay. I was a little bit nervous when I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, I'm not connecting to these characters a ton. I definitely like them. They are likable. I like them together. I'm rooting for them, but they're just not absolute favorite characters that are relatable to me. And I feel like for some reason that got me nervous, because a lot of the time sometimes when I'm in a book slump, that is one of the defining factors. I'm having trouble connecting to the characters in the story, but there's still things that I connect to about this story, even if it's not the whole of the story and it's not an absolute 5-star favorite read of mine. And I also just came off of Lion, which was a 5-star read that I connect to a ton. And I honestly think that sometimes whenever I am in a book slump and I'm not reading as much, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's back, it's coming back full force. Like, I'm not getting out of it. This is gonna last forever, which is just not a good way to think. And I think sometimes I do tend to overthink and self-sabotage in that way, not just with reading, unfortunately. The reason why this video even came to be was because of an absolute favorite book of mine, The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. And I feel like being able to read in general and not be totally ruined by my last 5-star read is giving me hope. I definitely think that the conflict that happened at the beginning of this book was very predictable in the way that it happened and how certain characters were involved in it, which doesn't mean that I'm liking the book any less. It's just predictable. And you know what? That's okay sometimes. It is still a good book. I'm still enjoying myself. I'm excited to finish it. And I know I haven't finished it yet, but I feel like this is definitely just going to be a solid 4-star romance read for me. And you know what? A solid 4-star romance, I'm not complaining. I also did want to mention, since Frankie and George are childhood best friends, there are a ton of moments that you get to see them whenever they're younger and just as they grow up together that are very pivotal in their relationship as a whole that are mentioned in the present day timeline. But then you go back every few chapters or so and get to actually see them in those moments, which I really enjoy. I think that one of my biggest gripes with childhood best friends to lovers or second chance romance is that you don't get to see enough of the past. And I feel like we're getting the perfect amount of past and present, because also sometimes it can be too much with a then and now timeline. But again, I feel like we're getting the perfect amount. So I'm intrigued to see where the end of this leads, and hopefully I end up enjoying it still. I am now finished with Our Perfect Storm by Carley Fortune, and like I said in my last update, this is definitely a solid 4-star romance. I really enjoyed the ending. It was very wholesome and sweet and cute, and I really liked George and Frankie's story. One of my other favorite parts about this book that I haven't really talked about yet is Frankie's family's involvement and also some of George's family's involvement in the book and their story in general. I think it was so cute just to see them grow up together and their family's involvement in that, and then seeing how their family reacted whenever they got older. And I just feel like it made the story feel a little bit realer to me. A lot of the times main characters will have maybe a friend that they interact with on the side or their job that they go to, and that's kind of it besides their love interests that they talk to. And I don't know, it just felt more realistic. I really loved the big family bonding moments that they had in here, and I also really loved how the relationship with Frankie's mom was touched on. Whenever she was younger, her mom ended up leaving them for a little bit to go almost soul searching in a way to reach some dreams that her mom had for a while, and then she came back. And Frankie always resented her mom for that, and seeing their relationship develop more and them work out an understanding with each other was really refreshing and honestly quite beautiful. So 4-star book, 5-star cover, as always, for Carley Fortune. And this leads me to the big question that this whole video has been leading up to. Do I think I'm officially out of my book slump? Yes, I actually do, which I'm so ecstatic about. I feel so excited to read again. And I honestly think the biggest thing that helped me was taking a break. I also think that Love Island USA ending might have also helped too, because that became such a huge part of my routine. And those episodes are like an hour to an hour and a half every night. And most of the time I read during that time of the day. So I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to watch that instead of reading. And it's okay to like change up your hobbies sometimes and decide to do other things, even though reading is still something that I really enjoy and one of my favorite hobbies. Sometimes we gotta mix it up a little bit. So overall, taking a break from reading was, I think, the tip that helped me the most, but all those little tips along the way helped too. Coming back from Michigan for the first time in about a month, I really realized how excited I was to pick up my next read, and I was planning out what I wanted to read next on my TBR. I was like, ooh, I could read Yellowface, Good Joy, Bad Joy, The 8th Emmett and Lion, and I just kept thinking about what I wanted to pick up next, which was always a great feeling. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm finally back, I guess. Like my personality is back, and I'm so happy about that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you are in a book slump, first of all, so sorry. Second of all, I hope some of these tips in this video helped you. And if you enjoyed this video, it'd be super awesome if you could like and subscribe because it really does help out my channel. If you've watched until this far in the video, comment down below the trophy emoji so I know who the real ones are. And also because getting out of the book slump kind of feels like I've won an award or something at this point. Anyways, thank you guys again for watching. I love you guys so much. Hope you're all having an amazing day. And I will see you guys in my next video coming up real soon. Bye, guys.
My octopus fell.
Millie's just yelling at me right now. How fun and cute for me. Peace.